What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle and welcome to the Flotilla. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be hanging out doing some first impressions of a title called Star Vortex. It's a little tiny title that I think slipped through my dragnet, but now that I've spent about 2.5 hours with the game, I think it's a lot of fun, I think it's enjoyable, and I think it manages to merge a lot of the ideas of something like Diablo 2 with a much more open world sort of sandboxy 4X inspired game like Star Valor. And those of you that have been around the channel for a while will know that Star Valor is one of my favorite games out there when it comes to space sims. So today we're going to dive in for about 30 minutes. We're going to see if this game suits your fancy. I'm going to talk about the things I do like. I'm going to talk about the things that I don't like. Hopefully by the end of the video you can decide whether or not you wanted to purchase this title. But if after watching this you did indeed want to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. You can check out this demo right this second. This is a publicly available open demo that anybody can play, and then from there, I'm not exactly sure what the release window for the game is going to be, like when it's coming out and when it's going to be available for actual 1.0 purchase, but that will also be available down there so that you can wishlist it. Let's dive on in because this Space Mercenary RPG, it's got a lot of things to talk about, it's got a lot of things to fiddle with, and I think you guys are going to like it if you're a fan of action RPGs. So inside the confines of Star Vortex, this game is a game about the apocalypse has come to visit the galaxy. You are a space mercenary that's out doing space mercenary work when unfortunately your battalion or your squadron is attacked by strange aliens called Species 11, and you've been called into the investigation of those random aliens by some kind of spirit or some kind of specter or some kind of ghost or something that exists out here on the fringes of space that says that this is a big threat that could potentially wipe out Earth. And so throughout the game, the structure of this title is actually very, very similar to if you've ever played Last Epoch. This is a very boiled down, distilled version of an action RPG. So this is the perfect kind of space game for somebody that doesn't want to do all the diplomacy, doesn't want to play around with all the random narrative elements, although there are narrative elements inside of this game. You don't want to go through the process of exploring the galaxy and seeing what's around every single corner in order to lock in content. This is a game that gives you the Diablo 3 equivalent of something like rifts that you do over and over and over again, and each of those rifts are connected on an overworld map. There will be missions that spawn on that map. You can respawn new galaxies for yourself whenever you want so that the fun never ends. It also has some version of, like, you know when you're rifting or you're playing Last Epoch, you can increase the difficulty of the maps that you're playing so that the drop levels go up. You can do the exact same thing with this title. There's, I think, 5 or 6 different difficulties that all have different amounts of drops and things of that nature that are going to be put into the game. There is a long laundry list when you first get into the main menu of this title of all the things that are missing from the game for right now, but it does give you a pretty good idea what they're planning on doing with the overall trajectory and roadmap of the game and what the features are going to look like when 1.0 comes out, so that's very, very good to sort of telegraph to the player what they should be looking forward to as they go through the game. And so to me right now, even with this demo that I'm playing around with, it kind of feels like the game's got a pretty rock solid amount of content already baked down on inside of its early access. Now for right now, I'm not playing the demo, I'm actually playing the unreleased early access, so I'm going to have access to a few more features than you guys are going to see inside of the demo, but still, I found the game to be pretty seamless. It's got low overhead, it runs really, really well, even when there's a ton of chaos flying around. If you're a fan of titles like Space Pirates and Zombies, or you enjoy Diablo, I think this is a game that's actually kind of a mover and a shaker. It's a game that's pretty enjoyable despite the fact that it's got really simple graphics and it's not altogether that impressive to look at. So we actually just burned through our first map here, wiping out all of the enemies. Sometimes you're going to have different objectives when you arrive at different nodes on this overworld map. Sometimes it's a giant battle like a war zone where there's going to be repeating batches of allies and enemies that are spawning in to assist you and to brawl with one another. At any time, you can hit the T key and it'll open up your town portal that'll take you back to the flotilla that we started out at. There's a number of different services at the flotilla that you can play around with. Everything from item crafting to item upgrading to banks where you can put all of your equipment and stuff that you've been looting from enemies along the way. We do have a little bit of equipment inside of here right now, but I actually just went for a purge the last time I went to the flotilla. That way I would have an empty inventory going into the YouTube video here. Your ship It is expandable. This is not the only ship that you ever get. We'll talk about that a little bit later on into the game, but as a preview, this game does feature basically a Photoshop suite where you can design your own ship. The amount of parts and the amount of attachments and the amount of hard points, utility slots, passive slots, those are all going to be gated by your character level over here and also by how far you are into the game. It seems to me from looking at the early access that there's also different races that have access to different technologies that do the same thing in different ways so that you can suit your style and how you actually want to play around with this title. And so some serious customization going on right there for getting your ship going. For right now, all that I did with my ship is I extended out the back end so that it looks like we have a fin, and then I took this thing and I shifted it backwards so that my ship was a little bit more elongate. But there is a full visual suite that allows you to move these parts, rotate them, do whatever you want to make a ship that reflects your creativity inside the galaxy. I've got a couple of missions right now. You're going to find these while you cruise around. Sometimes enemies will drop an item, or sometimes there will be a narrative portion when you go up against the enemy. The game is quite humorous. You can definitely see the space pirates and zombies sort of sardonic, cynical sense of humor inside of this game where everything is falling apart. The galaxy is being consumed by weird bioflora flying through space, and so everybody's taking it well, as you can imagine. But let's go back to navigation and let's see if we can find ourselves a new mission. So I've got a job to go kill a boss over here. He's level 13. I don't know if I want to do that just yet. This guy right here drops a rare primary weapon, and we get 150 credits for clearing all these guys out. So I think I'll probably go for that. You can use gates to travel around. There's also items that you can loot that will actually modify gates so that different things happen when you arrive. There's also natural modifiers that can just happen when you arrive in a sector. So for example, I arrived in a sector and I chunked out a mission and I defeated, oh my god, I just got shredded. I chunked out a whole bunch of enemies and killed them all off. But the second that I finished dealing with all of the enemies that were inside of the sector, a new batch of enemies dove in from a race that I had never seen before. The background changed into like floating blood clouds and like random floating debris and planets on fire. It was definitely very, very aggressive. I need to get out of this kill box that the enemies got me in right now. I'm using laser weapons on my hard points at the moment. The upshot to laser weapons is that they rotate very, very quickly, meaning that you can have a lot of uptime on your guns while firing at enemies, while simultaneously strafing, moving, and getting away from the enemy. However, the downside of that is I've got very, very limited range as it stands right now. Those are space mines. We definitely don't want to run into those. That'll hurt like hell. These guys are a little tougher than my usual quarry. We'll just keep strafing around them and outranging them real quick. Ooh, loot. Let me get that. I do like looting in this game, although I think it could be a little bit better. So the text on little pieces of loot and stuff like that that are floating around inside of a conflict zone, a little too small, difficult to visually identify while on the move. And then when you pick them up, there's not really a splash or anything else to let you know what you've looted so that you can be excited about opening your bag the next time around. Oh, they're dropping turrets. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff out here. And they've got repair bots. Okay, so that's why this is taking so long. They've got a ton of repair bots, and further exacerbating the issue, anytime you see enemies shooting red lasers in this game, green lasers in this game, be concerned about it, because that means they're using the caustic element. Every single weapon in this game has an elemental affinity that you've got to learn to work around. We're dealing with caustic right now, which means we get a dot that's put on our hull every single time we get hit, regardless of whether or not our shields are up, and we just tick down damage. And so getting hit by those is kind of bad. As far as maneuvers that you can do inside of this game, it is a very maneuverable game. It uses basic Newtonian physics for most of your interactions while you're cruising around the galaxy, but the Newtonian physics can actually be canceled by a dash that you have that's on your control key, which allows you to actually do some pretty cool maneuvers while you're cruising around, just in case you wanted to, dip, slide, and ultimately catch the enemy in the twisties while you're flying around. Looting, really, really easy to do. As I mentioned, you just hold down the E key and it'll suction in any loot that's on your screen at the moment. Sometimes it grabs stuff that's even off screen. It will be marked on your minimap though, and also you'll get one of these little nav point headers whenever there's loot laying around on the field. Back to what I was saying earlier, my initial thought though about looting, you don't really get a notification when you loot stuff. Something to give you that vibe of I just picked up something awesome. So for example, if you take a look at Diablo 4, or you take a look at other offerings inside the realm of action RPGs, there's usually some kind of pop-up box that stacks and scrolls whenever you loot stuff with the icon, and then with the quality and the name up here, and then the basic stats, just inside of like a little rectangle window. I would love to see that in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen ticking upwards as you loot stuff. That way you can actually keep track of what's been added to your inventory along the way. As it stands right now, I just kind of like play missions, and then every 3 or 4 missions I go through my bag and I just kind of see what I've got laying around. We do have a radioactive laser right here that's got much better DPS than what we've got going on. I'm using caustic lasers right now, which utilize the corrosive element. I think corrosive lowers the enemy's defenses, and this one right here is even better because I'm pretty sure that this one does an extra 75% damage if the enemy has corrosive stacked up on them. But this scaring laser over here might be fun to play around with. Let's throw that on. Yeah, that gave us a little bit more of like a color variance right there. We've got like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing going on whenever we fire our guns, and I'm here for it. Let's jump back into the galaxy, see what other missions are available. So it looks like we've got a war zone over here that's level 8, and it also looks like we've got a fully auto special weapon up against the Scarens on this side. It looks like we also get 100 credits, so let's just jump over to here and see what kind of mayhem we can get ourselves involved in. Mayhem indeed. Who's my closest contact? This guy over here. Let's jump him first because the enemy is usually surrounding you inside this game, so fighting a hole in the enemy tends to be a really, really good idea. We ate a little bit of damage right there, but luckily I've got a very fast respawn shield. Oh my god. Okay, you guys don't hit very hard, but you've got a lot of drones and stuff. Let's wipe you out. Everything the enemy's using right now, we can also use. I haven't unlocked a lot of it yet, but you can get drone bays. You can get fully autonomous weapons that you don't even really need to babysit. What was that? We got a Scaran beacon? Sick, dude. I think if we light that thing off, it'll cause a bunch of enemies to spawn on in that have fat loot modifiers on them. Let's go ahead and we'll kind of like curve around this way before my weapons overheat. On my HUD right now, you can see a couple of different meters at the bottom left. The red one is my heat. Every single weapon in the game generates a certain amount of heat while you're blasting away with it. And then on top of that, the blue meter is going to be my shields. The little blue meter is how long until my shield starts recharging. And then the green meter is going to be my hull when that gets down to 0. Obviously, bad things happen, and we are no longer a space mercenary. We are now space detritus, a space corpse floating. And so we'd like to avoid that if we can. I don't know if I've died yet, so I don't know what the penalty is for dying so far with the couple hours of the game that I've played. If you notice back there that it said I've only been playing for like an hour on this character, that's because I re-rolled like midway through because I was fiddling with my ship and I didn't end up liking the configuration. And I didn't really like save anything while I was doing it. I made the classic visual editing mistake. You'd think I would know better with how much time I spend inside of a video editor on any given day of the week. I save very, very fastidiously whenever I'm inside my editing software, probably every 30 seconds or so, but with this game I forgot to do it, and so I was like, I'll just go fresh anyways and try out some new weapons, because I wasn't really paying attention to the storyline of the game. For right now, I need to respec because I think I'm going to go lasers. I was actually playing around with machine guns, which are all in the mechanic tree over here, and I think I'm actually going to specialize in the engineering tree now that I think about it, because I like the way the swish-swish lasers feel while I'm playing through. I like their rotation speed when it comes to their gimbals, and so I've been a big fan of it. We do have some points to spend, so let's take a second. Let's go back to the flotilla, and we'll see what various modifications we can make to our craft by the time we get back on over here. I'll also show you the ship customization real quick so that you know what that looks like. So as you play through the game's narrative, you are going to unlock new supplementary ships that are inside of your flotilla. So for example, right now I've got the mothership and I've got the assembler. The assembler, it allows me to have a bank just like you would have in any other action RPG. There's both personal and shared bank space inside of there. And then on top of that, he'll also level up your weapons and make them stronger, Or he can upgrade the quality of your weapons, thus increasing the modifiers that are on top of them. So you can take a white weapon, turn it into a green weapon, turn it into a blue weapon, turn it onto a purple weapon, so on and so forth if you wanted to do so. The downside there is that you've got to sacrifice a weapon of a similar type that also has a higher grade and quality if you want that to work out for you. So you do have to give something to get something when it comes to increasing the inherent baked-in implicits of an item that you're playing around with. The mothership over here has a number of different things that you can do. The biggest one is just going to be that you can edit your ship through here. So on my ship right now, I've got a couple of different hard points, but if I wanted to, I could take the wings and I could extend them out a little bit wider and make them look a little bit cooler. I'm not going to do that, but the really cool thing about this whole editing software that you have right here is that it has the same hotkeys as any other visual suite. So if you do something and you don't like the way that it ended up, hit Control-Z. It'll undo all day long. If you wanted to copy and paste things, I think you can do that as well. And then you can also play around with the layers of selected items that you have so that they're layered properly and the ship looks the way that you want it to look. And so lots of customization and things you can play around with. You can change the color of your craft if you wanted to do so, just in case. I'll actually undo that real quick. But you can change the colors around. I don't know if you can fiddle with the decals, but there are different fin designs and stuff that you can unlock as you go through the game and kill certain enemies, I think. I don't know exactly when that happens. I'm getting further into the game right now and haven't unlocked a whole lot of stuff. Just be forewarned that you do need to pay attention to your hard points up here. So based on your level ups and based on what you've unlocked, you've only got a certain amount of slots on your ship that you can fill in. So for example, right here, my ship has space for 4 auto specials at the moment. You might have noticed that I have space for another primary weapon, but I haven't slapped it on there. That's because that is intrinsically linked to your character level. If we come back over here on the side, when you hit certain character thresholds, so when I hit level 10, for example, I'll be able to add a new slot that I can put stuff into, that I'm able to actually equip things there. And so, like, I can put the slots on my ship right now, but I don't have the skills to utilize those slots. And all of this stuff is fully respecable as well once you get into it. So, like, if I wanted to remove points over here, I'll go ahead and just, like, trash my bank account real quick. And then I'll put 5 points into beams. That way we've got 25% more damage right there on all of our all of our lasers. Right here, it also increases our range, which I think is pretty damn useful because my lasers, they're limited right now by their range. So an extra 20% range almost gets me off the screen, which is nice. Occasionally the mothership will come under attack. I don't think it can be destroyed or anything like that. Not that I've noticed anyways, and you do have a whole bunch of backup here to help you out with any fights that take place. So it's nothing to really panic about. But now that we've got our range increased to a satisfying amount, my Schwartz has grown long. I think we need to get back into battle and start fighting with some more enemies. I'll probably go for whatever's higher level down here as we're taking a look. So we do have a level 8 right here. It's mostly fighting wasps, so I don't think it's going to be that bad. So we'll just hyper jump our way over there and see what trouble we can get ourselves into. On top of that, I think like every 20 levels or so, or every 15 levels or so of your character, your ship's class can be upgraded, increasing the amount of parts that you can put on it so that you go from kind of like a frigate on up to a destroyer, on up to like a battleship, on up to like a battle cruiser, so on and so forth until you're flying around a big ship just like the mothership itself. Is there one more enemy down here? That was actually a pretty easy fight, and I'm sort of surprised that it didn't go nutty boys on me. Didn't really pick up anything from that skirmish, so maybe we'll just check the connecting factors over here and see where we can go. That's a level 9 mission. It's a rescue mission, so we're trying to save this guy's life right now as he's being attacked by random space brigands. I can jump in on that because I think I've only seen that modifier one time. Thank the council. We'll be out of here in no time. You just gotta hold him off. Okay, I will hold them off to the best of my ability. I don't know where they're all at, but we'll give it a go. It looks like he's a drone ship, but I'll try to, like, intercept over here the best that I can. Let me get down this way. You are invulnerable while dashing in this game, which is kind of a cool little feature. So while you're boosting, you get kind of, I don't even know what to call it. Like, you know when a superhero character is flying so fast that they get sort of like a halo in front of them? We get that too, and it blocks shots, and it makes us much safer. I'm gonna have to stay in here because if they're shooting me, they're not shooting my escort, so I'll just regenerate real quick. This fight is fully kicked off now. He is taking some damage. Unfortunate. I gotta keep firing, but my guns are overheating. Oh my god, there's so many of them. I need my heat to go down. The gateways have been activated. Did he escape? Oh wow, we survived it. I thought we were losing for sure. Okay, well I got a radiation capsule right there and a small shield battery. Let me fix myself back up. I've only got 10 potions. This game does have spammy potions just like every other action RPG, which is nice because I like to tank everything with my forehead and show no tactics whatsoever while I engage. I just want to be a giant ship that is capable of unleashing ridiculous broadsides while not caring in the slightest about return fire. That's my entire goal with a title like this. 3 waves of 53 enemies. Okay, let's get ourselves moving here. We do get allies for this little adventure though, but if nothing else, I think that we should get pretty good XP for taking these guys down. You guys going over here to engage them? I don't have control over my allies for right now, so let me dash out of the way right as my shield goes down. The enemy is actually really, really good at leading you in this title. I think they must have some kind of resistance to the damage that I'm dealing, because I feel like I'm just tickling them right now. I don't feel like I'm actually putting any real damage on them. I am going through potions kind of rapidly, and we are only on the second... Oh, we're still on the first wave. That could be a problem. If I have to port out to save myself, it resets the encounter. We got to go from the top. So let me see if I can maybe get a little bit of damage on you. There we go. We're getting almost 2,000 XP per kill right now. Getting pretty decent money too. Let me boost out of the way of whatever's happening over there. We'll tickle him up a little bit. And who else is engaged right now? We're starting to accumulate allies, which is nice, because if they survive previous rounds, they just help you out in future rounds. I haven't figured out how to strafe yet. That's the one thing that I haven't really figured out how to do. Everybody else appears to be strafe enabled, so I'm kind of wondering if there's some kind of like side booster I can add onto my plane in order to make it, or my starship, to make it a little bit more wiggly and maneuverable when it comes to like side to side action. Get you all nice and tuned up. I'm gonna let my allies kind of engage with them for right now. I'm gonna wipe out all their healers in the back line. Good stuff. Force him to focus on us. Down you go. I've got a little bit of corrosives on me right now, but I'm hoping we have enough potions to make it to the end of this fight. Move over to here. Get him lasered down. Hell yeah, we've gotten like a half a level. This is going pretty well for us right now. They're going to engage to the right because they always attack whatever target is closest. We will want to do some damage to this fleet before backup arrives, I think. Oh my god, my HP is terrible. Alright, got you guys. Don't really want to pull aggro right there. My guns are overheated, so I'm going to need a second breather. Maybe the enemies drop some potions right there. I see a lot of loot lying around, and if I can get a couple more potions, that would be just fantastic. Cool. Now we've got a couple more enemies left to go, and I've got 6 potions. I think we'll be okay. I'm just barely scraping by on this fight because I forgot to restock on potions the last time we were at the mothership, but it'll have to do for now. They're all down, and we picked up a spear gun. Interesting, sort of Reaver tactics out here. Grab the enemy, grip them down, and force them to take damage. I like it. Shields are down. Let me get both a shield boost and also a health boost. And I'm also overheated, so I can't even return fire right now. Their little drones are chewing me up alive. I haven't unlocked drone bays yet. I don't know what tree they're in, maybe technician tree, but I definitely would like to have some drone bays. Give me that small potion right there. Wipe out some healers. What are we looking at? We've got like 3 more hostiles. Okay, give me the corrosive capsule. Good stuff. Whittle them all down. Tried to bomb me out, but it didn't quite work. And we came out, we actually only used 2 right there when it comes to our nanobots. Good stuff. Didn't level up though, unfortunately. Wish that I had leveled up. We have an unscanned drone bay right there that's epic, so that's really, really nice. Spear gun over here. We've got a level 9 thruster. What's my current thruster doing? This one's got a better max speed on it, so I will take that and I will throw it on. I've got a nicer bio network, but unfortunately it makes my hull regenerate, but I haven't really seen the difference so far, like 0.1% HP. How much HP do I even have on this craft? My current hull is 2300, so we are getting some kind of use out of it, but I doubt that we'd ever have a breather long enough that it would actually come to fruition and like swing an actual fight. I suppose we could like kite like crazy and see if it works, but I'll throw the upgraded one in there even though it's the exact same as the previous level. As you can see back at the flotilla, your weapons do get modifiers and implicits on them, like little mods every single time that they go up a rank. So for example, this guy right here is actually a level 11 laser, but it's got -2 to its level requirement. It does more damage against frozen enemies, so it might be a really good thing to combo with a frost beam. And then it's got a higher critical chance, which on each tick is 15%, so that's not too terrible. I'm actually kind of happy with how that's going right now. You can also gamble on this side if you want to. Just like in Diablo 2, you can buy a nondescript item and just sort of see what comes out. I haven't had enough money to do it lately, but like, might be worth it. Let's buy a utility slot. Alright, so we bought a utility slot, and it is a grapple. How does the grapple work? Let's throw that thing on there. I think I already had a spear gun, but we can throw a utility grapple on there, I guess. Okay, and so it looks like I can fire it. And then how does that affect? Does it do anything? Oh, it like attaches you to the enemy. That way you can kind of like orbit them, I guess. I would need lateral thrusters for that to work, though. It's kind of cool. I might be able to use it to stop enemies from getting away when they're trying to flee or when they're trying to kite me out. So it might be useful. It says that I can use this thing, too, to modify a gate that I'm about to go through to make it do interesting stuff, and I kind of like those little wrinkles as you go through a game. Let's get back on out here, and I think my closing thoughts are actually pretty simple for this one. I think it's a fun game. I think it's enjoyable if you like action RPGs, if you like building your own spaceships. There's a lot of things to play around with here, and it's basically like rifting in any other game. You're kind of just doing missions over and over and over again, seeing what loot drops. That's something that very much works for me as a gamer. I really, really like games that have repeatable content like that, where I'm sort of just gambling on dopamine to see what awesome things are going to drop the next time I dive myself into the maw of terror. I do think there's some UI things they could do to make the game a little bit more clear. So for example, when picking up items, what I mentioned earlier, I do also think that the cards for items and whatnot could be a little bit more descriptive too, without having to click on them, just on mouse over. So I think there's some cleanup work that could be done right there. I think that the fights could sound a little bit better. I found that the sound effects for a lot of things are very sort of like minimal. You don't really hear them while you're cruising on through, but the game does have a rad soundtrack, so hopefully they can make some of the fights and the explosions and stuff like that a little bit more punchy and a little bit more enjoyable. Maybe a little tiny bit of off and on binary screen shake that the players can customize. A lot more sort of whoomp whoops and fooms when ships explode and stuff like that. Maybe throw a little bit more debris around while you're in the heat of combat. A few more major set pieces in there that you're fighting around, because right now you've got the background with the parallax and whatnot, and that's fine, but I think most of the maps should have some sort of like thematic centerpiece, like a battle station or a destroyed cruiser broken in half that takes up a big chunk of the playfield, stuff like that. But largely, I think this game is on a really good path right now. This is absolutely 100% something that I personally would play. I'm getting Star Valor vibes from it with its upgrading system and with the way that its combat feels. I'm getting a little bit of Space Pirates and Zombies vibes to it, in the respect that you're jumping through different gates and kind of just like seeing what's on the other side, and then there can be modifiers and random things that go wrong when you jump through gates. Seems like it's got a decent variety of content, and judging from the list of things that they're planning on implementing inside their little early access roadmap that they've got on the title screen of this game, seems like it might form into a fun little space action RPG, just in case you're getting tired of the medieval fantasy thing. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were messing around with Star Vortex, which I think is a pretty decent bit of fun. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out, and that's all I got for you. Bye, folks.